You know what's more haunting than heartbreak? It's not the silence after a breakup. It's the silence before it, the kind that lingers when she's sitting right next to you, but her soul feels miles away. Her laughter still echoes in the room, but it doesn't reach her eyes anymore. Something about her presence becomes unfamiliar, like a song you once knew by heart, but now the melody feels off, one note at a time. That's the kind of silence that whispers, she's already somewhere else. Welcome to Psychology of Desire, where we dive deep into the shadows of human emotion and attraction. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, because what we uncover here isn't surface-level love advice. It's the truth. Raw, psychological, and often the kind that hurts before it heals. When a woman cheats, she doesn't always confess it in words. She shows it through the quiet shifts in her energy, her choices, and her emotional patterns. Because before the act of betrayal ever happens physically, it begins mentally. It starts with emotional detachment, a slow withdrawal from the emotional intimacy that once felt like home to her. You'll notice she stops seeking your comfort when she's hurt. She used to come to you when the world broke her down. Now she handles it alone, or with someone else's reassurance. That's not independence. That's emotional displacement, when her heart starts investing where it doesn't belong. You'll feel it in the way she avoids eye contact during conversations that used to light her up. Her tone changes, not because she's angry, but because she's distant. There's a difference between a woman who's upset and one who's emotionally gone. The first still cares. The second is already rewriting her story in her head. Sometimes she overcompensates. Suddenly, she becomes overly sweet, extra careful, more attentive. It's not guilt, it's fear. Fear that you might see what she's hiding beneath the surface. So she buries her truth under affection, hoping you won't look too closely. But deep down, her energy betrays her, because you can't fake presence. You can fake words, smiles, even touch, but you can't fake emotional alignment. There's this strange tension that builds between you two, an invisible wall of half-truths and unsaid emotions. She'll tell you she's tired, just needs space, or that work's been stressful. And maybe that's true, but not entirely. The problem isn't her schedule, it's her investment. You feel her drifting, yet every time you try to pull her closer, she slips further away. Not because she's confused, but because she's already emotionally anchored to someone else. Her body language changes too. Little things. The way she pulls her phone closer when it lights up. The subtle shift when you enter the room. Not fear, but tension. Her hugs feel shorter. Her kisses, mechanical. When you touch her, her body responds, but her soul doesn't. It's like hugging a memory instead of a person. That's the kind of disconnection that reveals more truth than any confession could. Psychologically, women often justify cheating differently than men. For most, it's not just physical, it's emotional. She doesn't cheat because she stopped loving you overnight. She cheats because she stopped feeling seen. And once that emotional void opens, the darkness creeps in, slowly, seductively, whispering that someone else might understand her better, listen deeper, feel more alive. It's rarely about lust. It's about validation, about being felt. But here's the darkest part. By the time you notice the signs, the emotional betrayal has already happened. Her mind, her curiosity, her vulnerability, they're already elsewhere. You can sense it in her silence, in her laughter that now feels rehearsed, and the way she stares at her phone, as if waiting for someone to give her what she once sought from you. And yet, there's a peculiar stillness that settles in when she's emotionally elsewhere, like living with a ghost who still breathes. You'll notice she no longer argues with the same fire she once did. The silence between you isn't peaceful anymore. It's hollow. Because when a woman still cares, she fights. She defends. She explains, she tries. But when she stops fighting, it's not because she's suddenly calm. It's because she's already surrendered to someone else's understanding. That's how emotional betrayal begins, not with lies, but with indifference. She might start romanticizing solitude, talking about needing space or time to find herself. But that's not always the truth. Often, that space already has a name. Someone who listens to her stories without judgment. Someone who makes her feel alive again. The dark psychology behind this is fascinating yet devastating. Emotional cheating doesn't feel like cheating to her because it feels pure, even healing. She convinces herself that she deserves it, that it's simply emotional connection, not infidelity. But that's how the mind protects itself from guilt, by renaming betrayal as self-discovery. And you'll start to notice patterns that don't add up. She's suddenly protective of her phone, turns it face down, or smiles at random messages she doesn't explain. You'll feel that invisible sting in your gut, that primal instinct whispering something's wrong. But when you ask, she'll say you're overthinking. That's when gaslighting begins, a subtle manipulation that makes you question your intuition. Because the moment she realizes you sense the truth, she'll do whatever it takes to preserve her image of innocence. Not because she's heartless, but because she's terrified of being seen as the villain in her own story. In her eyes, she's just seeking something you stopped giving. Maybe attention, maybe validation, maybe the thrill of being desired again. And that's where the darkness lies, in the justification. The mind always builds a moral bridge for its own sins. She'll start remembering the times you disappointed her, the moments you weren't emotionally available, or the times she felt neglected. Each memory becomes a piece of armor to protect her guilt, and slowly she rewrites the narrative. I didn't betray him. I just found what I was missing. But deep down, she knows. You'll see it in her eyes when they avoid yours, in her sudden kindness after distance, in her nervous laughter when you ask simple questions. Guilt has a strange way of showing itself, not in tears, but in overcorrection. She'll cook your favorite meal, compliment you unexpectedly, or talk about the future as if nothing's changed. But her timing feels off, too sudden, too forced. That's the mind trying to balance the scales of deception. And yet, despite all of it, there's still a part of her that wants you to find out. Not consciously, but emotionally. Because carrying a secret that big becomes unbearable. Humans by nature leak truth, through tone, body language, and energy. When she's with you, her eyes seem distant, but when her phone lights up, there's a flicker, a light she no longer shows you. That's the emotional giveaway. In those moments, you'll feel a quiet pain, the kind that doesn't scream, but burns. Because the worst betrayal isn't when she lies. It's when she makes you feel paranoid for noticing the truth. You'll question your worth, your memory, even your sanity. That's the emotional warfare that infidelity brings, not the act itself, but the distortion of reality it creates around you. But here's the cruel irony. The more you chase her truth, you'll start noticing subtle contradictions in her stories. Small, almost imperceptible slips that gnaw at your intuition. Maybe she says she stayed late at work, but the energy she carries doesn't match exhaustion. Maybe she talks about a friend, but there's a softness in her tone, a spark that wasn't there before. These are the breadcrumbs of emotional infidelity, and they're easy to dismiss until they accumulate into undeniable truth. Her laughter changes too. Not all at once, but in fragments. A little lighter when she's on the phone, a little absent when she's with you. It's the sound of someone who is holding two worlds in one body. And you feel it, because human emotion is contagious. You sense the distance even before she admits it, because energy cannot be faked for long. It leaks through posture, through glance, through the pauses between words. That lingering, almost imperceptible hesitancy, That is the hallmark of betrayal. Then there's the affection. It doesn't disappear entirely. It shifts shape. You notice the way she touches you. It's polite, careful, almost measured. Hugs become brief, kisses routine. She smiles, but the warmth is no longer there. It's like holding a photograph of someone you once knew intimately, familiar but undeniably lifeless. Emotional cheating is like this. Her body is present, but her heart is elsewhere. You feel it in the bed, in the kitchen, in quiet moments where intimacy used to flow effortlessly. You might catch her staring off into space, her mind wandering while she nods along to your words. That's not distraction. That's imagination. The mental rehearsal of someone else's presence. Someone who has begun to occupy the emotional space you once filled. It's subtle, often silent, but profoundly telling. Your intuition screams, but reason wants proof. That conflict is what makes emotional infidelity so psychologically insidious. She begins to prioritize moments differently. Weekends once shared are now claimed by vague plans. She texts less, or texts with cryptic brevity. She seems busy, yet the energy she invests elsewhere is palpable. You feel her absence not just in time, but in the quality of connection. When a woman cheats emotionally, she isn't just betraying a body. She's betraying trust, attention, and the unspoken intimacy that binds two hearts. And when you confront her, she will deflect, rationalize, or sometimes guilt trip. You don't trust me. You're overthinking. Why do you doubt me? These are the psychological shields that protect her secret and destabilize your certainty. She doesn't have to lie outright. Half-truths, evasions, and subtle manipulations are far more effective. They plant seeds of doubt in your mind while keeping her narrative intact. But here's the paradox. She wants you to sense it, just not catch it fully. Human nature is drawn to truth, even in betrayal. She might drop hints subconsciously, lingering glances at a phone, an unusual interest in social media, sudden defensiveness when questioned. These signs are not accidents. They are the unconscious dialogue of a heart divided. Emotional infidelity is never silent. It's always communicated, just not in words you want to hear. And this is where the darkness intensifies. The more she drifts, the more you chase her attention. Your desire to reconnect becomes a mirror to her secrecy. The more you hope, the more she experiences freedom elsewhere. Emotional cheating is a psychological tug-of-war, where the deceiver often gains more clarity about their desires than the betrayed ever could. It's a cruel, invisible war. Fought with glances, silence. You begin noticing how the small rituals that once connected you start to vanish. The way she used to laugh at your jokes without restraint. The way she shared little victories and frustrations. The way she leaned into you during quiet nights. All of it feels thinner now, like smoke slipping through your fingers. And it isn't that she stopped caring entirely, but that her care has been redirected, poured into someone else who now occupies the emotional space you once held. Her eyes, those windows you trusted, begin to tell a different story. They wander, even when she's present. A subtle tension appears when you enter the room, as if she's already rehearsing how to respond to someone else in her mind. It's almost imperceptible at first, a slight hesitation, a fleeting softness that lingers just a fraction too long when she laughs at a message you can't see. You might catch her smiling at nothing, and in that smile hides someone else, someone invisible yet profoundly present in her thoughts. Her tone changes too. Conversations that once flowed naturally now feel rehearsed, even when she's trying her best to be authentic. She offers words of affection, but they lack the emotional weight they once carried. There's a rhythm to her speech that betrays her mind wandering elsewhere. Pauses, subtle inflections, small breaths that carry secrets. You may feel like you're imagining it at first, but instinct never lies. The emotional betrayal is already written in these small deviations. and your subconscious notices before your conscious mind can accept it. Then there are the moments she's busy. Work meetings, errands, late-night calls, all perfectly ordinary excuses. Yet the energy she radiates when she's away tells a different story. It's light, buoyant, alert. She's not exhausted as she claims. She's alive somewhere else. This is the cruel trick of emotional infidelity. Her physical absence is justified, but the emotional presence she gives someone else is undeniable, a constant reminder that the intimacy you relied on is no longer exclusive. Even her gestures toward you shift imperceptibly. Hugs are shorter, kisses more mechanical, touch less exploratory and more obligatory. It's not coldness entirely, but a compartmentalization. She can be affectionate while emotionally distant, proving how finely humans can manipulate the illusion of presence. And every touch you receive carries a shadow, a lingering trace of connection she's offering somewhere else. You might notice she overcompensates at times, suddenly attentive, complimenting you with intensity or recalling details she would have otherwise forgotten. It's not love returning, it's fear of being discovered. It's the mind's instinctive way to cover the growing chasm. These sudden bursts of attention feel out of rhythm, almost theatrical, because the emotional truth is elsewhere. You can't fake authenticity, and your subconscious senses the disparity immediately. The psychological complexity here is profound. Emotional infidelity often begins with curiosity or unmet needs. A woman doesn't just drift emotionally because of malice. She drifts because she craves recognition, validation, or desire that she no longer finds with you. The attraction isn't necessarily lustful. It's a yearning to be fully seen. And when that need is met elsewhere, even subtly, the emotional bond with you weakens, often without her consciously intending harm. And yet, despite all of this, there's a part of her that clings to you, a silent tether that resists total detachment. You can feel it in fleeting moments, a brush of her hand, a lingering gaze, a whisper of nostalgia in her laughter. That's the cruelest aspect of all, the duality of presence and absence. She can be near, but emotionally far, and that contrast torments you with. And now, the final truth settles in like a shadow at dusk. By the time you notice all these subtle signs, the emotional affair has already carved its path. She is present physically, but her heart has been rented elsewhere, quietly, incrementally. You may try to reclaim her attention, to bridge the growing chasm with words, touch, or grand gestures. But the thing about emotional betrayal is that it's not about what you do. It's about what she has already allowed herself to feel elsewhere. You'll catch moments when her gaze drifts to nothing, when her smile hides layers you cannot reach. Those flashes, small as they may seem, speak louder than any confession. She isn't just distracted. She is tethered to someone else's presence in a way that your love can no longer penetrate. And that is the cruelest paradox of human desire. Proximity does not guarantee emotional exclusivity. You are here, yet her mind inhabits a different world, a world where she feels understood, validated, and alive in ways that escape your grasp. In her conversations, the signs are everywhere. The way she laughs a little too easily at certain messages, the sudden interest in trivial details, the subtle secrecy over her phone or social media. These are the breadcrumbs she leaves, unconsciously, because humans cannot completely hide what they feel. And even if she wanted to, even if she loved you still, the emotional imprint of someone else lingers like a ghost, altering her energy, her priorities, her presence with you. You might feel guilt, anger, or disbelief. You may replay moments in your mind, wondering where it all went wrong, analyzing every missed glance or unfinished sentence. But the reality is often simpler, yet darker. She did not begin with deceit. She began with unmet needs, curiosity, and emotional gaps you could not fill. And once those needs find resonance in another, emotional fidelity crumbles quietly, invisibly, before the physical manifestation even occurs. When she touches you now, it feels different, a hollow echo of intimacy. You sense it in the pauses, the mechanical hugs, the short kisses. The warmth is gone, replaced by a careful performance that masks the emotional truth. And this is why the signs are so crucial. Because love, in its truest form, radiates naturally. It does not require performance, explanation, or sudden bursts of attention. The absence of authenticity in her behavior is the clearest evidence of her divided heart. It's devastating, but it's also a lesson in human psychology. No one can fully belong to another emotionally if they have found belonging elsewhere. Emotional infidelity is rarely about malice. It's about desire, validation, and the human need to feel alive. And once she experiences that spark with someone else, it creates a parallel world she may never leave. Your challenge is not only to notice the signs, but to accept the truth of human behavior, that love is fragile, attention is finite, and emotional betrayal is a shadow that creeps in before the body ever follows. By the end, you are left with an undeniable clarity. The signs were always there, written in glances, words, and silences. The heartbreak comes not from discovering what she did, but from realizing when she stopped being fully yours. And that knowledge, painful as it is, arms you with the awareness to understand human desire, emotional boundaries, and the dark currents that run beneath intimacy. Because once you see the signs, you can no longer pretend, and the truth, raw, poetic, and haunting, becomes your guide.